Hello, and welcome to another Pangolin AMA. Today we are welcoming the Penguin Finance team. Very exciting. Cool. So yeah, let's jump into the questions. So for those just not as familiar with Penguin Finance, Penguin has some really great features in their app. You know, they do farming, they do auto compounding, they have games. They just launched their Launchpad product, which we're very excited about. So, you know, let's just have a nice chat with them and we'll jump right into the questions. So the first question we're getting from Merge Done is, will Peffey support the other DeFi chains in the future? Does someone from Penguin want to take this one?
Definitely, and first of all, Leo, thank you very much for having us. This sort of events definitely help the DeFi community grow and make sure that everyone within the Penguin community is aware of what other projects are building. So we're definitely very grateful for that. Now, as per the question here, if we plan on expanding on other chains, it's not something that we aren't considering, but right now we're mainly focusing on Avalanche. We're an Avalanche native project. We may in the future have some sort of integration, and definitely we're working on collaboration with projects from other chains, but our main focus is and will be Avalanche for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's good to see such a strong native project building here. It's really great. So good question. Thank you for that. And so the next question is from Mayhoff. It's two questions. So the first one is, when is the Peffey airdrop? And the second is, will the Sherpa sale be coordinated with parties? What do you guys think about that?
Okay, so as per the airdrop, it'll be happening in June. And as you all know, today is the last day of June. So that's all I'll say about it. But yeah, as per the second question, I'm unclear on what the parties refers to.
Yeah, so maybe, well, let's just assume like maybe it's coordinated with the other distribution partners like Snowball or anybody else like that.
Oh yeah, okay. So the majority of our Sherpa allocation for the Launchpad will be distributed via the Launchpad, right? And then a percentage of our allocation of Sherpa will also be given through the Club Penguin. So we definitely have plans to integrate other projects within the Club Penguin so that the users can also use the native token for example, Snowball or other projects in order to participate in the Club Penguin. That way, we're not only including our users, but also expanding it to the DeFi community as a whole.
Yeah, those are great. And Brandon, you know, what are your thoughts on these new products, the Club Penguin and the Launchpad?
Well, first of all, whenever I hear Club Penguin, I've got sweet memories from way back in the day playing a little online game called Club Penguin with some friends. So you can't go wrong starting from there. I think a lot of people that we see on Avalanche, especially in the Pangolin community, are very interested in being first. So we have new projects and new tokens launched. They want to be there, to know what's going on before it launches. So when it does, they're prepared to kind of get a part of that. So an additional IDO platform sounds amazing to me. And for what I've got, the more people we have working on different solutions for it, the better we're going to be off for it.
Definitely. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to go ahead and elaborate on the Club Penguin because I must imagine that many users here listening to us don't really know what it is, or maybe they haven't read all the details. But basically, the Club Penguin is an initiative where users from Penguin Finance are able to stake the XPFi token, and they start receiving a distribution of the tokens that are being offered on the Club Penguin. This way, we're allowing our users to get access to new projects that they may otherwise have not found about. And we're also going to be doing community engagement activities, so giveaways, AMAs, and that sort of stuff with the projects that are being offered in the Club Penguin. So we're helping those projects by broadening their reach, and also helping our penguins by providing access to free tokens that they would have otherwise not gotten.
Wow, that sounds really cool. And yeah, I'm really excited about the outreach that Penguin team has been doing, just connecting with so many projects. It's great. Okay, well, let's take another question. I appreciate those questions, by the way. So the next one is from 8-Bit Giraffe. Welcome, 8-Bit. 8-Bit works on Snowball. So the question is, will Penguin release their monthly revenues, or specifically what they're making in igloos, As an investor, this is important to making an informed decision about the project. What do you think, Penguin team?
Yep, definitely. Look, we keep a really transparent accounting of every single transaction and every sort of expense. The only problem that we run into is that the notes and stuff regarding these transactions do entail like personal information of our designers, for example, our providers, and those who've been involved in building the project. We're working on sort of like removing their personal information from our expense sheet. And we do plan on publicizing every single expense that Penguin Finance has had since its inception and in the future as well.
Yeah, that's great. And transparency is definitely key, especially in DeFi. So I'm glad to hear that.
Absolutely.
And, so let's take another one then. So the next one is from Polar Bear. Welcome, Polar Bear. And the question is, I'm interested in hearing more about the Penguin DAO and what the plans for the future are.
Yep, definitely. Look, we're a project, other than just building and innovating within the DeFi space, we also believe that every crypto project should strive to have a direct impact on the world, so physically manifesting itself. And that's where the idea for the Penguin DAO came in. So the Penguin DAO will be governed by penguins via the XP5 token. They'll be able to vote on proposals just as they do in Penguin, for example, where you guys have your own on-chain governance and all that kind of stuff. We're going to be having a similar system for XP5 holders where they're going to be able to decide on the future of Penguin Finance. So important decisions such as fee reductions and other different mechanisms. And also they're going to be able to access those funds that we have allocated for the Penguin DAO in order to do other sorts of interesting activities and proposals that the community can come up with. So that is definitely going to be up to the community, how they want to manage those funds and what sort of good or proposals they want to build through that Penguin DAO.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, and I'd like to hear maybe some thoughts or questions from Brandon, who does have a lot of experience in DAOs and governance. Do you have any tips or questions for the Penguin team, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been involved in a couple of different approaches to the governance side of DAO now between Pangolin and Snowball. I just encourage a couple of questions on barriers to entry, how much you've got to succeed or surrender control at some point, as well as how direct the control of that governance is going to be. So you kind of play around with these aspects of how much power it has versus how much control the project has. So if something goes wrong, do you have to rally troops together in the middle of the night, wait for a 3-day period to fix something, or you go the truly decentralized route to do that? So something we've been looking at from Pangolin's perspective is just knocking down some of those barriers. For instance, we saw that users didn't want to pay gas to show up and vote. So we're trying to make sure that some of the more frequent voting questions are gasless. The idea being that would have more voter engagement, which would mean the outcome of those votes would be more representative of the entire community. So if you don't do that, you end up with a more centralized system, but it's quicker. So we're trying to work out the balance between the two.
Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, that's definitely a great idea. I hadn't even thought about subsidizing the gas costs for the users. That's definitely a huge barrier of entry. So that's definitely something that we should consider. As for the exact intricacies of how we're going to delegate governance, the idea is to ultimately have the whole chain being governed by the users. Although, as you know, this can sort of block some sort of decisions, or it can make some sort of implementations a bit slower. But we're looking at different ways to do this so that we have the best of both sides, right? So we're able to act quickly, but also delegate all the power to the community. So we're looking to create a hybrid in that sense. Right now, since the project was launched very recently, we haven't been able to implement like a whole governance for all the decisions yet, just because at the beginning we were worried that since the project was really early, a lot of the tokens were held by certain wallets, so we didn't really want to go for this route until the token was more distributed, which is something that we've been seeing for the past month or so. Right now, 62% of PFI is staked in the nest, and 7.21% of PFI has been burned forever. So that's roughly almost 70% of PFI that's out of circulation, that's being either staked or has been permanently burned. So that definitely gives us an idea of how decentralized we're coming to be. But yeah, we definitely plan to implement this in the near future. I'd say within the coming 3 months or so, maybe even less.
Yeah, really exciting. And if you ever need to chat about implementation or just bounce ideas around, just reach out to the other projects in the ecosystem. Glad to help out. So cool. Let's move on to another question then. This one's from Mayhoff. Just a quick one. Where is Frost from? You don't have to share if you don't want to, but what do you think, Frost?
Well, look, I've already been sort of my identity has been sort of revealed, but maybe not my name and my address or any of that stuff. I'm still pseudo anonymous, but I can definitely say, as most of the French community already knows, I'm from Costa Rica in Central America.
Awesome. I hear it's beautiful there. That's great.
Yeah. The weather is nice. The taxes suck though.
Okay. I think a lot of people would say the same about their country. Cool.
As per,
so,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead,
I just wanted to jump in. As per other members of the team, we got developers from Hong Kong, Japan. We got community members, as you know, from France, Mexico, Colombia. So the team is all over the place. We also got people from New York, California, even Ukraine recently. So it's definitely all over the place. We definitely like being remote. It has allowed us to build a very cool sort of internal culture and external as well, as we've been able to really reach out to as many communities as possible. Something interesting that we found out, that I personally found out very recently, like a couple of months ago, was that based on our survey, over half our community is Turkish, and then a very big portion is French. So I'd say that 40% of our users are French as well. So that's something that we weren't definitely expecting, but it's something that we've been able to adapt to, and it has really helped us grow, and it's something that I really enjoy.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that your team and your community is, embracing the international aspect of DeFi. And I think it's really beautiful that, in a decentralized ecosystem, it doesn't matter where you live or what language you speak, you can participate equally. So that's really great.
Definitely.
Cool. So the next question we got is from Ramsey. And the question is, will Peffey or Pffy be listed on a CEX or a DEX in the future? I guess more centralized exchanges, more decentralized exchanges. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we're definitely in talks with a lot of the coming DEXs on Avalanche, so that they integrate our token and also incentivize our pool, right? So that the P5 pairs within those DEXs are incentivized and they get a higher allocation of rewards. As per a centralized exchange, we've talked with Gate.io and other exchanges. We do plan to do this in the near future, but nothing solid has come up yet. We haven't really agreed to any specific terms with any of those DEXs.
Yeah, that sounds great. There are a lot of DEXs coming up. I know, Trader Joe is launching, Hurricane Swap. What else? Party Swap just announced something. It's exciting times. A lot of teams are building. And so in terms of CEXs, I got a question for Brandon. So Pangolin just got listed on a CEX. What do you think is the impact of listing there, and is it necessary for projects, Brandon?
So my interest is certainly in the decentralized finance world. I've bounced around to a few centralized exchanges, and part of giving up custody just is not something that appeals to me. I think there's some really cool benefits to being listed on a centralized exchange. One of which, just kind of personally, is the arbitrage opportunity it brings up. You now have two separate markets that are trying to determine pricing. And so for traders out there that interest, maybe in arbitrage, but not necessarily Pangolin, might be exposed to it through that, and then get a deeper understanding of what we have to offer on Avalanche. It also increases the trading volume just for that arbitrage stuff, which is great for Pangolin. And it also allows some stuff further down the line. If you want to introduce something that requires an Oracle solution, something you really need is multiple, not necessarily decentralized, but siloed locations for price discovery. So it's harder to attack that. So a centralized exchange is a different silo and provides you more ends to do that with.
Definitely, and then Well, I don't know if you guys ever got to see this, but when we first were developing Penguin Finance in the first months or so, we had come up with the idea of releasing our own AMM. We had called it the Penguin Swap, and we had even built it, and it was ready for deployment. But after seeing you guys' proposal to and how the community voted for you guys to become to basically lead the development of Penguin and continue innovating, we thought it'd be really futile to just bring another DEX when there's so much space to build on. There's so much stuff that isn't on Avalanche yet, and we just saw your proposal. We saw what you guys were planning to do, and we were confident that it'd be in the best interest of Avalanche as a whole to have you guys leading the effort here in terms of AMMs and decentralized exchanges. So we definitely back down from creating the swap just based on the fact that you guys of what you guys have been building and what you're doing is definitely something that we will just delegate to you guys, because you're the experts in that sort of category, and we'd rather just innovate and build something different than try to be just another DEX.
Yeah, we appreciate the trust that you've put into the team to lead Pangolin in the right direction. We've been chatting a lot since we've been on board, and I think collaboration between our teams is gonna happen more frequently moving forward. So it's great. Okay, so that was good about sexes and dexes. The next one is from KR. Why did you choose to build on Avax, Avalanche, and not another chain? That's a good question. What do you think, FrostByte?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go ahead and let Alejandro answer this question, as he's always dealing with a lot of the users, and he's definitely seen the benefit and has a lot of experience in Avalanche itself.
Thank you, Frost. Yeah, basically, why choose Avalanche? Speed, cost, and basically the profile of the investors in Avalanche. Some of us might be degens or degens or degenerates in DeFi, but we have. I'm new on the team also. Well, might be one of the older team members, not a founding member as Frost and Cody, but listening to them and seeing all that they have been able to achieve, and the close relationship that we have with the people of Avalabs and this kind of AMAs and the meetings we have had with several projects. I think it's a healthy ecosystem that, of course, everyone's looking to make money, but it's not a, I don't know how to say it, but it's still not tarnished with drug pulls, with people trying to scam other users. Right now, it's a place where we're trying to build something, and I think it's all based on the same idea or the vision or mission that Avalanche has. It's something interesting on the community in here. So yeah, the main reason was low cost fees, ridiculous speeds, and well, it's an EVM, so it's easy to build in here if you come from the Ethereum ecosystem.
Yeah, I'll just add that the crazy speed of Avalanche has allowed us to build stuff that would be otherwise impossible in other chains, right? So we have the Penguin Emperor that we're going to be releasing a new iteration of it called the Penguin Blitz, and it basically allows users to steal the throne. That's what we call it, and basically whoever's on the throne the longest starts getting points on the leaderboard, and then at the end of the event, whoever has been emperor for the longest amount of time will get a percentage of the jackpot. Second place, third place, they'll all be rewarded, right? But this sort of like quick dap where things are changing every single second. Like when the emperor first came out, like you could literally go on the site and you would see a new emperor every 2 seconds or so. So just the speed it has really allowed us to do stuff that would otherwise be impossible on Ethereum and other chains that don't have this sort of speed and low transaction cost, right? Because there's also chains that are really fast, but if you're paying $5 to do a simple transaction, you're not going to be really playing the game.
Yeah, those are great answers, and I see it too. There's so many cool things you can do in Avalanche that you couldn't do in the past. It's a great platform to be on. And what about you, Brandon? Was there anything that additional that you would add that's great about building here?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks came over from the massive Ethereum ecosystem with lures of cheap fees and fast transactions, and that's absolutely the truth. You might not notice some of that when you're going through a dApp, just because you have the network effect to go through. But if you get right up against the Avalanche validator nodes, you really can get confirmations in a tenth of a second. It's ridiculous. So I came over for that, thinking that was really cool. The stereotypical, I'm here for the tech. But something kind of nifty with the social aspect of Avalanche and the greater community, especially in the beginning, it was kind of difficult to get your funds over to Avalanche. Just with difficulty of using on and off ramps, especially before the bridge. And so the people that did make it over here was a different kind of community. People that were a little more technically in the know, people that were more curious, and just people I guess in general seemed to enjoy working with each other on the tech that we've got. So that's what's kept me here. And of course, I found the same thing with the Pangolin community that brought us in and just kind of tickled our curiosity to build something better.
Yeah,
Definitely. And I think that's been a double-edged sword, right? Because a lot of the users that are on Avalanche are really technical, just because going through the X chain to the C chain and just changing your MetaMask settings is a barrier of entry for a lot of DeFi users. So I think that has really allowed us to create a better community in terms of more educated users, people who are really in it for the tech, as Brandon said. But it also has proven to be a sort of a barrier of entry for a DeFi capital from other chains, right? Because many people who are on BSC, maybe they're just on Ethereum or Matic, they don't really have that much of a technical background, and therefore they have a hard time onboarding onto Avalanche. So I see it as both a positive in terms of the great community that Avalanche has been able to build, and a negative in terms of just attracting more liquidity into Avalanche itself. In terms of working towards this effort of making it simpler, we came up with the idea of the Penguin Faucet. So Penguin Finance is going to be subsidizing a faucet where users who are coming from other chains are going to be able to get some free Avax, at least to cover their first trades on Pangolin and whatnot. This way, we're sort of reducing the barrier of entry for users who would have otherwise just used a bridge, and maybe they bridge their Ethereum, but they have no way to trade it on Pangolin because they lack the Avax. So that's something that we're excited about, and we are hopefully going to be releasing this within the next month and a half.
Wow, that's really cool. And I think you're right. Just coming over here for the first time, not having any gas, being stuck, that's a huge problem. And Pangolin's been discussing faucets too, but I'm glad that Penguin has it on the roadmap. So really cool. So great question and good answer, guys, about why Avax. And there's a lot of good reasons to be here.
Okay, definitely. And
go ahead, FrostByte.
Sorry to jump in here. I was just going to say that, I see it as more of a community effort, not something that Penguin Finance itself wants to do. So if you guys are down for creating a joint like DeFi community faucet, we are most definitely up for the challenge, and we could even do like a shared faucet with both the Penguin Finance, Pangolin branding, and other projects that want to contribute to this effort.
Totally. Yeah, it's not a project specific thing. It's more of a public good, right? And everyone should want to contribute to that. So that's great. Cool. Okay. So moving on to another topic then. So this one is kind of more of a statement, but I'd like to talk about it. And the statement is Penguin also has a single coin stake called XPFi. And so, let's talk about staking and XPFi. I know it's like one of the central pieces of Penguin. Do you want to touch on that a little bit, FrostByte?
Yeah, definitely. XPFi has been a core element of Penguin Finance, right? So when we were first building Penguin Finance, we figured that the like holding the coin should really give you more of a say and also a sort of a revenue from what's going on in the protocol, right? So we came up with XPFi. What XPFi is basically is you stake PFi, you get XPFi, and XPFi is like the revenue token for Penguin Finance, right? So every sort of fees that are collected are distributed directly to XPFi holders. So their XPFi to PFi value is only ever increasing. They're not subject to any sort of impermanent loss, and they're also benefiting from just the whole amount of fees that are being collected, which has really grown in the past months, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a lot of different benefits. I'm sure Alejandro can jump in here and talk a bit more about XPFi and what sort of other exclusive benefits it gives to our users.
Yeah, of course. Well, we mentioned a little bit about the collection of different fees from the dApps. The Emperor and the Emperor Blitz will send a bit of fees into the nest. Our compounder right now it's on a promotional price with 0 fees, so people can compound with no cost. But the interesting part is when this promotion it's over, a little part of the compounding fees, which is also the cheapest compounder on Avalanche, it's the lowest fees around. Some of those fees are sent straight to the nest. So the whole idea of the nest is to reward our investors in every way that we can. Every product that we design, every product or dApp that we launch, it's gonna have the nest in mind. So if you are an investor of Penguin Finance and you have Peffey tokens and you trust the project, the way to go is to use the nest, because you just put your PFI in there and it will continually grow. And the more users use Penguin Finance, the more the nest grows. So it's an interesting take on how to create a product that attracts people and rewards people for trusting in Penguin Finance. I'll put an example. If you're just yield farming and you just want to dump the token, it's okay. It's fine. You can do that. But if you think that the project and if you trust the project, you can deposit your funds and watch them grow. If people use the project, your funds will grow. So I think it's a very beneficial way to make the investment of our penguins grow. There's Club Penguin, in which there's some more additions on the XPFi. Right now, XPFi, you just stake your PFi and get XPFi that grows in value versus XPFi daily. But in the near future, I think next month, when we launch the Club Penguin with some of our different alliances, there's gonna be single asset staking of XPFi, which will have the same benefits that you know already, but also you'll get tokens from our partnership projects. So it's gonna be an interesting take on how to double reward the hardcore Penguin loyal investors. So I think that the possibilities on that little product, it's just endless.
Yeah, definitely. And look, yeah, we've established partnerships. We're definitely in close contact with the Snowball Finance team. We believe that what they're building is absolutely incredible. They have a dedicated team, and they're just great people overall. The Lydia Finance team as well, we've been in close contact with them. And even Gondola Finance's team is also building a lot of interesting stuff. So those are our current official partnerships. And we're going to be offering those tokens in the Club Penguin and creating joint sort of engagement activities where Snowball Finance is going to be able to come on to our Discord and our Telegram, so that a Penguin is not only a Penguin investor, but also a Snowball Finance investor, just to give an example.
Yeah, that sounds great. And, XP5 sounds so powerful. Like you said, there's 60% locked in there right now. That's huge. And I'd like to hear what Brandon thinks about, staking, because Pangolin is also looking into staking implementations. So Brandon, what do you think of the XP5 model? What could we use at Pangolin, or what would we do different?
So first of all, I love the collaboration that ends up happening behind the scenes. There's so many projects just talking to each other regularly, bouncing around ideas, seeing how they can help each other out. And so we've been doing some polling with our user base, kind of trying to get a sentiment of what the community wants for some of the specific features for staking. And so one of the suggestions we kind of pulled from y'all's idea was the paper hands penalty. And if you're unfamiliar with that, essentially it's an encouraging mechanism to keep your staking locked for longer. So you have the ability to withdraw whenever you want, but if you withdraw too early, you have paper hands, and there's a fee for doing that versus the diamond hands holding on for longer and remaining in the staking pool. So we took a poll not too far back. The number one security mechanism people were looking for or interested in was a locking period. Essentially, if you stake, you're getting PNG rewards. We want to make sure that you're in there for some period of time. You've committed for a little bit. You're not just trying to harvest free PNG without contributing to the greater Pangolin community by holding that token for some time. The second one that came back was the paper hands penalty. So I foresee both of these being introduced to our staking implementation. The idea being from the last set of architecture we've kind of started gravitating towards would be to provide the same sort of mechanism with single-side PNG staking. So you're not exposed to impermanent loss. And it provides an additional incentive or additional reason to hold PNG. Maybe if you're scared of pairing it with something else in the open market. And this would also provide some additional levers around those parameters. So this would be open to a governance vote for what users want to do for a longer or shorter locking period, paper hands, the percent fee for that, and of course, what to do with those fees generated. I've seen some when airdrop comments, and that's open to what we want to do with that. But that's one potential option where that could be used for.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for the insight, Brandon. A lot of things, a lot of parameters to think about for staking. And so we just want to get it right on the Pangolin side. Cool. Good talk about staking and XPFi. Let's move on to another topic then. So this one is around NFTs. Exciting topic. Would love to see PFi NFTs in the future. Is this a possibility? What do you think, Penguin team?
Yeah, most definitely. We already have the Penguin Doctor NFT and the Penguin Nurse NFT, which we're going to be distributing to all of those who graciously donated during the Penguins Without Borders campaign, right? So we had a version of the Emperor, but instead of actually bidding in order to make a profit or in order to get the throne for yourself, you're actually bidding to help contribute for the India COVID relief campaign that the whole Avalanche community got behind, right? So that's that for those NFTs that we're already going to be distributing, but we're also working to create other sort of NFTs that will have actual functionality within the actual dApps. So to give you an example, we have the idea to create. So we have a dApp called the Penguin Arena. It's going to be a gambling arena. So basically, you buy tickets, and then a percentage of all the people who bought tickets, they will either win or lose. And then the prize per se is distributed amongst the winners in a not a linear fashion per se, not an equal fashion, but rather through randomness, we're able to make it so that some people get a big allocation, other people get a medium-sized allocation, and those who win will always have more than they started with, right? So within this system, we're going to be collecting fees that are going to be distributed to the nest. But we also had the idea, why not implement the NFTs so that, for example, we create an NFT called, let's say, the Penguin Sea Star. Put it up to a community vote to do the design, let the community make the NFT itself. And then whoever holds the Penguin Sea Star NFT is going to be able to introduce it. Well, they're going to be able to lock it within the Penguin Arena contract, and they're going to be receiving a part of the fees that are collected by the arena itself, right? So not only do they have a cool NFT, but it actually provides them with a source of revenue to locking it within the arena, and then they can unlock it and they can sell it on the open market and whatnot.
Wow, that sounds great. Yeah, I love that you're incorporating NFTs into the other projects. Some NFTs are just for collecting, but I think the cool ones are the ones that have special features, like the ones you're describing. And I think Elk Finance does that too, and Snowball wants to do that too. So really cool. And I also love that Penguin's always pushing the new features and the new projects and the products, and the arena sounds awesome. Can't wait for that.
Thank you very much. And I just saw in the chat here, there's a question about audits. Look, our contracts, the Nest contract, the Igloo contracts, and our token contracts have all been fully audited by Certic. You can find that information on our website. And now, as for the compounder itself, we just had it audited by Entersoft Security, which is one of our favorite auditing firms in the space. And they're going to be releasing, well, we already have the internal report. We're going to be releasing it to the public. They just need to correct some typos and stuff that some mistakes that they put it in the report, and just make it look clean. And we're going to be releasing that on our website as well. So thankfully, the Penguin compounder is already, well, you can say that it's audited because it has been audited, but we're going to release the full audit in the coming days. But yeah, that's the case for that. And I know that there's a lot of liquidity in Pangolin that's not within DeFi, based on this sort of fear that, hey, so I already have my LP tokens from Pangolin, but maybe I see that yield on Penguin Finance, but maybe I don't want to get in there because of risk of a rug pull or whatnot, some sort of issues with the contracts. So you can stand clear and know that we are definitely very concerned about security. So other than just internal and external unit testing, we have a CertiK audit, and we're soon going to be releasing our Intersoft security audit for the compounder itself. So you can not only enjoy the 0% fees that we're running right now. So every single pool within the Penguin compounder is currently running at 0% fees, which for the rewards specifically, which means 100% of your rewards are compounded versus any sort of fee being implemented in the system. This will be for a temporary amount of time, but we're even looking to extend this for even a month or so. So that's something that I'm excited about. But yeah, I just wanted to make it clear that if you're compounding on the Penguin compounder, you're as safe as can be.
Really great to hear. Glad that Penguin's doing everything right with the audits and just being really safe for the community and the users. And yeah, so let's talk about another question then. So this one's from Ed Johnson. What are the main challenges in developing the platform at the moment? What do you guys think?
In terms of the like, I would imagine that this question is more geared towards like technological development. I'd say in terms of technological development, our hardest challenge is definitely the user interface. That's where we get the most trouble, and that's what takes the largest amount of time. To give you an example for the, let me see here. All right, so for the compounder specifically, it took us about a week and a half to create the fork, add our sort of our own unique features and whatnot, but it took us like twice that amount to implement it into the user interface. So our biggest challenge is definitely being just the UI, the Web3 integrations and all of that. That's what takes the longest amount of time on our end. But we, in order to solve this, we're onboarding 2 new developers onto the front end team as soon as this week.
Yeah, really good answer. And, to just elaborate, there's really 2 parts in developing DeFi, right? There's the contracts, the smart contracts, and then there's hooking it up to the front end on the website. So 2 interesting challenges to solve. What about you, Brandon? What are some challenges in developing on the Pangolin platform?
Sure. So one just high-level thing is there's certainly a lot of tooling that's aimed at Ethereum first. And so we inherit some of the growing pains of Avalanche as we're taking not only our platform, but we're trying to test that and interact with that and spin things up locally with some tooling that's only halfway there for Avalanche tech as well. Or even if the technology is there, the documentation isn't there. So I've spent more hours than I care to admit kind of uncovering how some of these tools should work. And I mean, that's going to get better over time as well. But it's kind of one of the downsides of being on Avalanche in the current time frame.
Yeah, that's good insight. That a lot of what we see here was just kind of borrowed because why invent the wheel? You have really good infrastructure like the graph or analytics, but like Brandon said, it was built on another network, and so when you bring it here, sometimes there's more work to do to get it right. Good question. So to do a time check, it's 40 minutes in. We're going for an hour in voice, and then any questions that we miss, we'll try to just answer them in chat when we can. So appreciate all the questions from everyone and all the answers from the Pangolin team and the Penguin team. This has been fun. So the next question is around paper hand penalty. It says in the roadmap, it says it goes to 0 in Q4. Would it be better to leave it at least 1%? What are your thoughts, FrostByte?
Yeah, look, a promise is a promise, so we can't just modify that without the community actually voting for it. We're actually developing a new sort of nest. Currently, the current implementation of the nest, it burns the paper hands penalty, so it removes it from circulation. We were actually thinking that it could be even more interesting if instead of burning it, the actual paper hands penalty that's collected is distributed to those who are still in the nest, right? So if somebody leaves the nest with a 100 XP file and let's say the paper hands penalty is 10%, those 10 XP file would be distributed directly to those who are still in the nest, right? So actually rewarding the diamond hands directly rather than through deflationary mechanisms.
Wow, really cool. Yeah, that's one of the hot topics in DeFi, right? Is the buybacks versus the burns versus redistribution. Many levers to pull in terms of tokenomics like that. Cool. Good answer. Okay, well, let's move on to another one. What's your future plan for Igloo pair? Will you guys focus more on Peffey pairs or Avax pairs? What do you think?
Yeah, so since we're not an AMM, our focus has always been in increasing liquidity for PFI, so that PFI users have good slippage on Pangolin when they're trying to trade from PFI to DAI, PFI to Snob, PFI to Pangolin, right? So we're definitely going to be focusing on making PFI pairs rather than liquidity pairs that involve only Avax and maybe other coins such as Chainlink. So yeah, our focus is definitely going to be PFI focused for absolutely everything we build.
Yep, sounds good. That makes sense. Since your project's powered by the PFI token. All right. So the other ones are kind of around audits, and you already touched on that. But maybe we can hear from Brandon about audits. What's your thought around the importance of audits in DeFi?
And yeah, sorry to jump in here before we answer that question. I just wanted to add that our project is not only powered by the PFI token, but also by Pangolin, right? Because absolutely every single sort of liquidity that's in the Igloos is coming from Pangolin. So I would say that our main source of like empowerment is PFI x PFI, but we must definitely mention that we are like our liquidity is all from Pangolin. So we definitely have a lot of support in that regard, and it's a key part of the Penguin Finance ecosystem is our Pangolin integration.
So
yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
As far as I know, I don't think there's been a rug pull, quote unquote, on Avalanche yet. There's been multiple accusations. Almost every time a new project spins up, people seem to point fingers. But you contrast Avalanche, and maybe it's a young network, so that's maybe not a fair comparison, to something like BSC, where I wake up and I make my coffee, and maybe there's going to be one hack, or maybe there's going to be 3 hacks that day. Sometimes the same hack that happened yesterday is on another project. It's wild. And there's this idea that having an audit makes that impossible, which I don't think is the case. I think it makes it less likely. But really, auditing firms are just security firms that look through a system and kind of pore over it and try and find out ways to do it better, ways to do it safer, look for common problems that might have already been exposed in some other work they've done, and work those out. It's not a golden seal. It's not an insurance policy, but it does improve things. So I think as far as Pangolin's concerned, that's something we're also interested in. Our contracts hold a significant portion of liquidity that, without some sort of security in place or some due diligence would be at risk. So we get the question a lot of, what are you doing to ensure these funds are safe? And audits are one aspect of that. So going forward, some of these new features we're talking about in the roadmap, staking being one of them. A concern has been, how much is it going to take to audit these features, and what can we do to minimize the risk vector that would appear either in an audit or out of an audit. And unfortunately, as Penguin might know a little bit as ready, this stuff takes time. You have to get your contracts, you have to send them over, they review them, and there's a process afterwards where you go back and forth on what they found and different avenues to address those concerns. This is something we're committed to, just because, like I said, we hold so much funds. I think it's irresponsible to not have TVL holding contracts be looked at by another party.
Yeah, really good insight. So I appreciate that, Brandon. And I think the takeaway is, audits are a seal of approval, but there's many facets of looking at DeFi projects and deciding whether to trust them or not. So just, I think the cliche is do your own research, right? Cool. So I think the next one is about XPFi again, but we've touched on that quite a bit. Let's move on to a new topic, which is I wonder when Sherpa launch will be on Penguin. And so this is a hot topic recently about the Launchpad and the Sherpa token. Can you give us some insight, FrostByte, or the Penguin team?
Yeah, definitely. Look, as we had published, we set the deadline for the first 3 weeks of July, so it's definitely going to be much earlier than that. But as you guys know, right, there's always unforeseen events and stuff you got to take care of at last minute. So we definitely gotta give us some leeway, just because of course we work day and night to make sure that everything is right and that there'll be no issues. Like we would never release a product just because there's demand for it, but rather we release a product when we know it's ready and we're able to stand behind it and sleep soundly at night. So that's what we're doing with the Launchpad, as we've done with all of our products. We already have most of the contracts ready. We're going to be sharing them for review, and we're going to even be opening them up for the public. They're coming in 2 to 3 weeks. Could be even sooner.
Hey, sorry, can you guys still hear me here?
Okay, yeah, welcome back.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I got clicked something and dropped off. But okay, cool. So yeah, just the Launchpad that's coming out. They're going to be launching their first token in the coming weeks, which is really exciting. Okay, so let's do a time check. We've got about 10 minutes left. Let's get through a couple more questions, and then if we have time, we'll hang around and just answer the rest of the questions via messaging. So the next topic is going to be about a different exchange. Interesting. So this question's around, what do you guys think about Zero Exchange? I like their bridge, and I wonder if this is something that can be implemented with Pangolin and Penguin to reduce the barrier to entry from other chains. What do you guys think?
Yeah, to be honest, we don't have much experience working with Zero Exchange specifically. Our focus has always been working through Penguin, but we've definitely reached out to them in terms of their bridge. We're still waiting to hear back from them as we reached out, I believe, like yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, from the Pangolin side, we've had a few conversations with Graham, who represents Zero, as well as his team. And that's a guy that's been in DeFi for longer than Pangolin has existed. So he's got some really cool insight. And he's a very not beat around the bush kind of person. So I enjoy those conversations as well, where he was giving out some advice and things he has heard. We were going back and forth. And he also had a couple of references for some other third parties that have benefited Zero that might also benefit the Pangolin the Pangolin project. So as far as the exchange goes, I think he does great work. The Zero Exchange was around a while back on Avalanche, and what they did is they realized there wasn't much liquidity here, and so they had their own bridge to do that. And over time, found out that their bridging technology was moving at a better pace than their exchange tech was. So they kind of pivoted to do bridging, kind of rebrand from the exchange. And so I haven't looked recently. I don't think there's much activity or liquidity in the exchange contracts since that. But we've definitely talked with them more on the bridging aspect to see. I think there's more cohesion there that we could interact with and engage with versus the exchange itself.
Yeah, for sure. I think bridging is definitely a key part of just bringing the huge amount of liquidity that's on Matic and BSC, Ethereum directly onto Avalanche.
Yeah, it's a really good topic and good answers, guys. My commentary is that the state of bridges on Avalanche is definitely an improvement point. I think a lot of parties are working on it. I know the Avalanche team itself on their roadmap has a bridge in the works. The existing bridges are constantly improving. I know like AnySwap goes to BSC. A lot of projects have their own bridges like Elk and Spore. AEB is the traditional bridge that was recommended to everyone. Some other types of bridges, Ren protocol can bridge directly from other chains, which is cool. It's just so many people are working hard to open up bridges for people, and it's great to see. So good question. Cool. So time for just a couple more. This one is pretty specific. Why is XP5 rate computation not automatically updated? What prevents the owner from increasing the rate? What do you think, FrostByte?
Okay, so I'm unsure if it refers specifically to the paper hands penalty or the rewards themselves, but I'm gonna go ahead and assume that they're speaking about the rewards. So we definitely are gonna be automating the rewards. It's just that we try to, well, at the beginning we were keeping a targeted rate of 1.3% daily rewards, which does require some sort of manual input for the adjustment per se. But yeah, we definitely plan to adjust the nest distributions. But yeah, I would add that a big portion of the nest is already automatically being distributed right through the fees from the compounder. Unfortunately, that's, well, not unfortunately, but that's not currently live at the moment, so you aren't seeing those fees from the compounder. But yeah, when we get the Emperor Blitz out, either today or tomorrow, you're also going to be seeing a lot of P5 being distributed in that way. But the bulk of the daily rewards are being managed manually in that sense, in order to sort of keep track of inflation and the likes. We don't want to make it an inflationary token, so we're really wary about how much is being distributed to the nest. But we're also working with, well, one of our great community members, his name is Excellent. I'm sure you guys have seen on the Penguin chats if you're in there. But he does a lot of graphing and a lot of, he has like 10 Excel sheets on Penguin Finance and absolutely every sort of statistic, nest distribution and whatnot. So we want to make sure that every user has access to that sort of information, to the intricate details. We believe that the more information that the users have, the better. So we plan on implementing a My Stats page that will actually give you a graph of the historical nest rewards, the historical nest APY, even the emission rate of the token and how it's been changing for the past months or so. So yeah, we definitely plan to open that up to the public and have a special place within our website that will show you absolutely every single statistic that you'd be interested in.
Wow. Wow, that's really great. Yeah, I think, statistics, analytics, just as much information as you can give users about the financials of a project is awesome. And I think, on the Pangolin side, we're trying to get more analytics out too. And I'm sure a lot of other projects are feeling the same way. So good answer and good question. Okay, let's take one more question, and then we can just jump to the text chat to wrap up. So the question is, what kind of a niche are you trying to fill on Avalanche? What are you trying to be to your users?
Yeah, well, I'll let Alejandro answer first so he can give his take on it, and Volkonik as well. Would you mind starting, Volkonik? Right, so I believe Volkonik. Okay, never mind. There you go. Go ahead.
So sorry, I didn't see the question, but we say the niche that you're trying to fill on Avalanche. What are you trying to be to your user? So actually, we're trying to be as much as complete as possible, like to compare, for example, to BSC for Poking Swap. We are trying to have a lot of utilities for the token, like P5 and XP5. The fact with the Penguin Arena and the Emperor, you got some gambling, like you will be able to win tokens and things like that by participating to fun games. So I think it's one of the key points of Penguin first.
Excellent. Alejandro, do you want to jump in here as well?
Yeah, thank you, Frost. Well, what got me into Penguin Finance, now I'm talking about myself as an early investor, because I jumped into Penguin Finance on day one. And I read all of the documentation. And what was interesting was let's call it the mission statement. As a DeFi space friendly for everyone, where even your aunt or your grandmother could participate and have access to different DeFi products with great documentation, great user interface, and have fun. So I think that the niche of Penguin Finance can be the most experienced investor that's looking for great yield, security, safety on their deposits, on their funds. But also it can be the place for for any investor, you can be a small investor like I am, and a new in DeFi. I never used DeFi before until I landed in Avalanche. I started in Pangolin, then I jumped into Zero, then I jumped into Complus, then I jumped into Snowball. So I was trying every project, and the project that kind of grabbed me first was Snowball. I love you guys. Or Leo is part of there, I think, and I love what they do. Then I landed on other not so good projects, and then landed on Penguin, and I think that the friendly idea of the penguins, of the memes, the whole vibe of the project, the niche is you don't have to be that serious, but you need to be serious. It takes a lot of work to develop a serious project and make it look friendly. So the niche is to give every user any tool that they want to invest their money and have fun doing it in a safe and secure manner. I don't know. That's what I feel about Penguin Finances.
Yeah, excellent answer. So yeah, just to finish the question here. So we have the compound there, we have the igloos, we have the nests, we have the emperor, we have the launchpad that's going to be coming out, and that we have all been able to accomplish in as short as 4 months here. So there's a lot of stuff on the roadmap. We're soon going to be releasing a new updated roadmap because we far succeeded what we were planning for this quarter. So we definitely need to add that out there and make it public. But as for what's going to be coming in the near future, of course, expect the launchpad. That's what I'm most excited for. We have my favorite project launching on Avalanche is going to be featured there. Now, as per other stuff, we are going to be coming out with the prediction markets, which I think is something really hot here. I don't know who's listening who likes UFC, soccer, and by soccer I mean soccer with your feet. I'm sorry, or maybe even American football. We're going to be adding the NBA as well. So if you like betting and you like sports, the Penguin prediction markets are going to be your go-to place in order to do that. So we have the prediction markets, we have the arena, which I'm also really excited for. We're just waiting on some feedback from Chainlink and Asper fixing some sort of some integrations of their product. But yeah, there's a lot to come, and yeah, we're just getting started. So I'm really excited about this, and I really do appreciate Leo giving us the opportunity to speak here and address the Pangolin community as a whole. Brandon as well, and the whole Pangolin team. We're really appreciative of this, and I think you guys have been doing a great job in terms of integrating your users into the DeFi space and making sure that Avalanche's DeFi scene isn't left behind.
Yeah, those are all great answers about the niche and what you're trying to provide to your users. And one thing Pangolin saw that's unique is a lot of our traffic into the Pangolin app actually comes from Penguin, which is really cool. How you guys don't just keep users to yourselves; you're spreading them everywhere and sending them to different apps, which is great. So I think we're just about out of time. I think this is a good spot to wrap up. Just wanted to sneak in one bonus question for you, if that's okay, FrostByte. You said, the question is just why did you choose Sherpa as the first project for your launch pad? What potential do you see in that project?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I'm a privacy I love privacy. I love anonymity. It really allows us to create stuff that would otherwise be impossible if our identities were out there, just because of harassment and sort of the security implications of people knowing who we are and where we are. So I'm definitely a fan of anonymity. I always tell the team that I'd rather be anonymous and broke than rich and famous. So Sherpa is really going to be offering a really exciting product that will definitely aid at increasing anonymity and this sort of privacy aspect of Avalanche, which I think is so essential in order to have a healthy ecosystem, right? Privacy is a key factor for this, and the Sherpa team is going to be making this possible. And now, look, we were looking like the Launchpad has been in the works for many months now. But the problem is that we've seen a lot of projects and talked with a lot of projects, but we hadn't found a project that we could really stand behind, right? Because if you're going to offer a project in the Launchpad, and users are going to be buying it, they are going to, of course, believe that you stand by the project. So you can't just offer any project as many other Launchpads do on BSC or Ethereum, where they're launching a project every single week. So our mission has always been to launch a project for which we can stand behind, and a project with with a great developer team, and that's definitely what we found in Sherpa. The Sherpa team has some of the most experienced individuals within the Avalanche ecosystem, and I would say the DeFi ecosystem as a whole. So just getting to meet their team, seeing all the stuff that they're creating, their great technicality and their knowledge of the space is what really got us excited about the project, and their marketing is incredible as well. So I would say that Sherpa was the first and the best project that we've found, and we're deeply honored to be able to offer their token to as many users as possible. It's just an overall incredible project.
Yeah, really appreciate the insight on that, and excited to see that launch and how the launch pad performs. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So cool. I think that's going to wrap up the voice questions today. I really appreciate your team, Penguin, for coming out. Brandon, did you have any last thoughts before we wrap up today?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to share the stage with Penguin. I think you all have an amazing presence on the network. And from everything I've heard, behind the scenes as well as in the last hour, it makes me proud to be working with y'all whenever we can. It's really an honor.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So thank you so much for coming and for everything you're doing for the network, Penguin team. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys for the opportunity. This really means a lot to us, and yeah, I'm sure that your AMAs are definitely my go-to place to be tuning in for the future.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. So we'll wrap it up then. Thanks everyone in the community who asked questions, and we'll try to get to the ones that we didn't touch on. So we'll wrap up. Thanks, guys.